Wait, Critical Role and Exandria and that whole world and all those adventures are now canon in D&D? Is that right? Does that mean that every one of us is a part of D&D? That's some cool food for thought. It would appear so, and I'll explain how and why in just a moment. First, I want to say that I got a great comment from my good friend Leathersmith yesterday, and he was asking about, like, he suggested that I talk about the D&D cartoons, and I've talked about those briefly in the past, but I think that's a great idea, and I promise, I love talking about cartoons, and I especially love talking about D&D cartoons, and so you can count on the fact that I will do a very special DnDaily soon that has a lot more, let's say, research and planning involved that will incorporate a discussion about what is available out there in the way of cartoons as related to Dungeons and Dragons. So if you have any suggestions or things you'd like to see included in that, let me know in the comments on this video, or any video for that matter. Now, back to the subject at hand. How is D&D, how is Critical Role, I mean to say, part of D&D canon now? Well, in fact, there's two ways. Now, I want to recommend, I read a very cool article, not very long, but sort of interesting article from comicbook.com that kind of drew this to my attention and made me think about it a little more deeply. I'll link that in the details for this video as well, of course. Here's what the article basically says. Archon the Cruel is one of the NPCs that was in the first campaign that Matthew Mercer ran through Critical Role and that whole group. Archon the Cruel, of course, stole, well, this is spoilery, so I apologize. If you know the story of Critical Role, then, or you're not going to watch them, this is just part of the importance of why it's actually canon in D&D. All right, so Archon the Cruel, captured at the very end of the arc for the Critical Role, for Vox Machina, Archon the Cruel grabbed the Hand of Vecna and made off with it. Now, in Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, which is going to be released this month, in fact, I believe it's September 17th of this month, Archon the Cruel is in this campaign, this source book or what have you, this next bit of source material that is being released by Wizards of the Coast. Joe Manganiello, who created the character of Archon for the Critical Role stream, actually had a part in writing some or contributing some to the Descent into Avernus, into this new module that's coming out this month. And so part of that is like part of Archon's, like what Archon the Cruel is, what he's all about is releasing Tiamat from her prison. And so it's from her prison in the Nine Hells, right? So you know, there's this whole diabolical tie-in into why did Archon get the Hand of Vecna? How did he get the Hand of Vecna? And what is he trying to do with the Hand of Vecna? And it all links everything together. So there's another kind of cool thing. Some of these are little bits of like Easter eggs, but they're valid to D&D lore and D&D, canon, the greater universe that is D&D, right? So Matthew Mercer appeared in an artist's rendition, a picture within the Dragon Heist book. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of a cool image. I've linked it before, I think, on one of the way back when. I'll try to dig that out if I can. But regardless, you can go check this out. There's all kinds of people from like Minsk and Boo to, just regulars that you would see, like Elminster and that kind of, cats like that are you know, very important to D&D lore and so forth that you might see in Waterdeep. And Matthew Mercer is actually in the picture, right? Which is kind of cool. Now, you might also know that Acquisitions Incorporated has been basically brought into the fold as being canon for the D&D multiverse. And so it makes sense that why wouldn't Exandria and the world created by Matt Mercer and that group be incorporated as well? It makes sense. And so now there are two official tie-ins that in fact make Exandria canon. One being the fact that Matthew Mercer himself has appeared in one of the books, and of course we know Chris Perkins, of course, has appeared in games. That is, again, a convoluted story. I'm not going to get into the details of that right now, but you actually, Christopher Perkins himself appeared in D&D in games, in the game. Somehow, all right? So you could almost say that our world, our real world, this flesh and blood world that we're sharing together, in some way is actually a part of D&D, which leads me to believe that does that mean that every one of us is a part of D&D? That's some cool food for thought. So back to what I'm saying, I'm getting a little off track. However, this is just fun to think about. Does that mean that every one of us is part of D&D or is in the D&D world, multiverse, something? And I would say yes. But anyway, I mean, that ties back into the cartoons, I guess. I'll have to bring that up at some point when I do that cartoon DnDaily vlog. Now, let's just tie everything together. Okay, so Descent into Avernus is being released later this month. In Descent into Avernus, Archon the Cruel appears as an NPC in the adventure and in the lore of that adventure. Archon the Cruel appeared on Exandria, helped Vox Machina defeat Vecna, and then absconded with the hand of Vecna. So there is a direct tie-in between Baldur's Gate, Avernus, the Nine Hells, Exandria, and all of these different layers in the multiverse that is Dungeons and Dragons. And so you, my friend, are part of the Dungeons and Dragons multiverse. And I'm glad you're a part of it. I'll see you tomorrow. Keep rolling 20s until then, and remember, it's your game. Play your way. Archon the Cruel stole, well, oh goodness gracious. I got a frog in my throat.